With Anime Vanguards, the newest update, they added a total of 13 brand new obtainable characters, and overall they did a pretty decent job balancing wise. I thought it'd be fun to go through and rank all of them from 13 to 1, worst to best, in my personal opinion. Keep in mind, if you guys disagree with anything that you see in this video, like maybe you don't like a character being super high or a character being super low, that's okay. That's your opinion, and this is my opinion. If you would like to say why you think that character should be higher or that character should be lower, let me know down in the comments. I always love to hear you guys' input on these videos, and also, we are getting actually pretty close to 10,000 subscribers, even though I'm 4,000 subscribers away. And at 10,000 subscribers, I'm actually gonna do a face reveal. So if you guys are interested in that and you'd like to see my face in videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with that, let's get into the rankings. Okay, so here we are in game, and at our 13th spot as the worst unit in this update, we have the one and only Deku. So Deku, I feel like I've used enough to where I can confidently say I think he's the worst unit from this update, which really sucks because I was really excited for this guy. When the list of characters was announced and I saw Deku was there, I was like, wow, I really want to roll on Deku now. But after seeing him in game and his performance, I don't really think he's that great. So if you're unaware what he does, I'm going to go through a bunch of these characters' passives very quickly just to summarize them because they are very small. But essentially he has no SBA, and each attack he does on an enemy increases his own SBA, and then it resets when it hits somebody new. His damage goes up when hitting that same enemy, and then if an enemy leaves this unit's range, he will teleport to them and follow them, which in all fairness sounds really good, but genuinely is not that useful. Every experience I've personally had with Deku so far has been just mediocre because he is a monarch reliant unit, and even with monarch, I think his damage is still lackluster. I've seen a lot of people saying when you're following a unit, right, and your SBA is continuously going up, that, oh, well, you could just switch the target and then switch it back, and it will reset his SBA being super high. But my problem with that is, why would you want to do that? Why do you want to micromanage a unit that's not even that good? He's basically there to be a support DPS, which he doesn't even do that very well. I think they just fumbled Deku. When it comes to the strength of other characters, now I'm not saying Deku is an unusable, horrible character, right? He's still a great character. Being nature is also a really good thing, but out of everyone in this update who are a lot stronger in my opinion, he struggles. But at our 12th spot on the list, we actually have Spot. So I know this may upset some people because some people may have not thought Spot was going to be here, but my problem with Spot is he's not really that useful. When we look at his passive, you can see that he repulses enemies and he can hit enemies outside his range for 50% of his damage, and then he can teleport whenever somebody enters or exits his range. He also has a nemesis system where he'll just randomly pick a random person in his range, and that person, whenever he attacks, they will also always get hit, but that's not craziest because he's already doing that most of the time. It's just whatever, man. Dot, I think, is going to be good for maybe those guys that like AFK world lines or AFK challenges, but outside of that, I don't see him having much use. He's Cosmic, which maybe is useful. Cosmic's already a pretty decent element, so he's not adding a lot of usefulness to it, but with Monarch, he could actually be a pretty decent unit. He's definitely better than Deku because at least with him, you could just throw him down and let him do his own thing, especially wherever you want in the map. That is his biggest gimmick, but that's him at 12th place. Next, in 11th, we actually end up having Ruby Rose, which this kind of hurts for me to put her down here because I have her Monarch, obviously, which you guys can see, and I actually think she's a pretty decent unit, but I think out of everyone in this update, if I'm to take a step back and be objective, I definitely think she's the third worst. I think what Ruby Rose really struggles from is just, she is super basic. Super basic, and the only thing I feel like she's carried by is her being a passion unit. Passion is horrible. It is an awful element. Yes, it just got Valentine, but that's not enough to carry the entire element, right? So her being passion is her best trait. Essentially what she does though is she has no attacks when you upgrade her, but she can swap between attack 1 and attack 2. And every time she attacks, she follows up the first enemy she hit with 50% of her damage, and then if a bunch of enemies leak through, she becomes fully AoE. In every hit, she buffs her damage up to 120%. You can see I am Monarch on her. She sits around 600k when she's fully maxed out, which is good. Plus she's doing the follow-up attacks, so she's probably sitting around almost 900 to 1,000,000. So like, it's really good, but her only problem is, other than flat DPS, she's not really adding much. And the only reason I'm putting her higher than Deku and Spot is mainly just because, one, she's better at doing DPS than them, and two, she's a passion unit, which that's just one of the things that happens when you're a horrible element in this game. Now, the next unit in our 10th place is actually a unit I do not have, and that is going to be Senator Armstrong. Obviously, I'll show him on screen. You guys can obtain him from the level 25 in the battle pass. I'm not there yet, so that's the only reason I don't have him. But he is a really interesting unit. He's a burn or basically die unit. He applies burn on people, and then he does follow-up attacks. And if he follow-up attacks somebody who he burned, he will detonate their burn for 200% of his damage. And that's really it. That's really all he does. He's also in that kind of basic characters. His damage is kind of lackluster without Monarch, and he relies on hitting the enemy twice, which is kind of annoying. But other than that, he's a good unit. I think there's just so many burn units in the game right now, especially in this update, that he loses a lot of his use, and that's one of the reasons he's lower down the list. But our next unit we have in 9th place is actually going to be Raiden versus Sam. So this is another unit I do not have, but you get them from tier 50 of the battle pass, and it's going to be a very similar situation with Raiden and Sam that it was with Senator Armstrong, where they're just a super basic character. There's not many depth to them. Their whole gimmick is they're very similar to Invincible and Conquest, where they're always attacking each other. So if an enemy walks into their range while they're attacking, they'll get hit by it. And after a certain amount of attacks, they'll do a follow-up of all the damage they just did to somebody. And that's about it. I believe they're full AoE on top of that, and they are a blast unit. So that is probably the greatest things they give. Truthfully, these are the last characters that on this list I think are just kind of lackluster. I think everyone past this are useful and very, very strong in their own right. Moving more positive though, in our 8th place, we have Cat, aka Neko Arc. This is a really weird, interesting unit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. They're a 2 placement nature unit, and their passive is actually pretty unique. So they can randomly apply any status effect or debuff in the game, excluding hard status effects to the enemy. And look at some of these things they can apply, guys. They can apply any element, and then on top of that, they can apply deceased, bubbled, slowed, and then for each active effect on the enemy, they deal 5% increased damage. And it says DOT stacks count as a single instance. So this is a really wacky, weird unit. And the cool thing about them, I would say, is that they are also a 2 placement. I see this unit more as a support, truthfully. But if you have Monarch, you could honestly maybe turn this into a full-time DPS. Their max damage is around like 60k without a trait. So they're just an interesting character, right? They are a RNG heavy based character, and they have the potential to do some of the most damage if you're lucky. Now in our 7th slot, we have actually the Konosuba unit. Now this unit, the only reason I'm putting higher than Cat is because I think they're a more consistent, better support. Being a water unit as well is very good, because water is one of those types that are horrible in this game. Essentially what they do though is they permanently slow enemies by 30%, which is very amazing. They buff allies' damage by 20% and then cleanse all allies' status effects and debuffs every 15 seconds. That's really, really good as well. They summon that comes to the map, and they respawn if they do die. They charge up their HP, which increases how much damage they do. The summon's alright. It's not super great. And then they also have a nuke that's also alright. I think this unit's good. My only problem is I don't know where they were trying to go with it, because he's obviously trying to be a support, but then with the darkness and Megamine with the nuke and the summon, it makes it so he wants to be a DPS, but his DPS is just so low that you're not going to get really much use out of it. That's my only problem with this unit, but other than that, his support is great. Permanent slow, cleansing all your allies of everything, increasing their damage just always. I think he's a super great unit. Next, at number 6 though, this is where it's going to upset some people. I have Wonder of You. Now, the reason I have Wonder of You here, I'm assuming a lot of you guys know what he does, but he's not like an actual unit. His whole gimmick is that he walks down the path when you place him down, and the closer they are to him, he'll do an attack to everyone that's near him. So almost like Aizen, but he does like an actual attack. He cannot die, but whenever he hits the enemy's base, he will restart and go back to your base, to their base, all over again. He's nature, which is actually really useful, and he can be really, really good. It's just the people above him genuinely out DPS him by that much. That is the reason I'm putting them higher. I think Wonder of You is an amazing unit. I wouldn't be this high without it. This is a 13 unit update, so he's got to be put down a little lower. Our next unit though, in 5th place, is going to be the Doomslayer. So Doomslayer is a really weird unit. Essentially, you have access to all of your weapons from the Doom video game, and he has an ammo count which he cycles through, and then every time he runs out of ammo, he switches a weapon. Doomslayer is not the greatest, but when you pop his active that lets you go first person, his DPS is actually insane. The only bad thing is without this ability, he's just kind of mediocre. Like, you could say Wonder of You is better than him without the active, but with the active, Doomslayer is actually so broken. You could consider putting Doomslayer higher with the active, but I think right here in 5th place is a good middle part. In 4th place, we actually are going to have your boy Godzilla, which I have his shiny for. This is such a weird shiny, but Godzilla is an amazing unit, dude. This guy is like underratedly insane. So he's a Spark unit, which is very good because Spark is also one of those bad types in the game. And Godzilla's whole gimmick is actually very, very simple. He has a meter that charges with radiation, which doesn't increase your damage, but every enemy that's in this guy's range takes 30% from all DOT effects, and he inflicts burn equal to 50% of the radiation's meter value. So if it's at 100%, this guy's burn is going to be going crazy. And he also has a nuke, which charges off of your radiation meter. He is a full AoE Spark unit, by the way, with like SPA maxed out, or 4. So this guy genuinely just does so much damage. That is why he's up here. But in our 3rd place, entering the top 3, we are going to have Shiro from Fate. So I was debating maybe putting Godzilla above him, or maybe even Doomslayer above him, but this guy genuinely does so much damage, especially if you guys have Monarch on him. If you haven't noticed by now, this is a very Monarch reliant update, but this guy just does so much damage. His whole gimmick is he has a mana bar that charges with each attack, and basically you just want to use his final ability called Unlimited Forgeries, which literally gives him 28,000 range, and you can swap between your weapons, which increase your damage by a lot. He's a great unit. His DPS is off the charts. He has basically infinite range when you pop his ability, and you don't really need Monarch on him for him to go crazy. He can work with Ethereal and stuff like that, so that's why he's number 3. Number 2 on our list, though, is not a surprise for a lot of you, but it is going to be Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight's DPS is actually insane. Hollow Knight is a curse unit, which is also pretty good. They are full AoE on last upgrade. They are a little expensive, but man, this unit does so much damage. They have so much utility with their relics and with their void spells, and then on top of that, they are summoning for almost 1 million HP. Hollow Knight genuinely is just so broken. Unsurprisingly, they glazed the heck out of Hollow Knight, which honestly I'm okay with, man. This unit is insanely broken and insanely cool. But finally, to no one's surprise, the number 1 unit of this video is going to be Dio over Heaven. I'm assuming a lot of you guys have seen how he works, but he has 2 forms when you evolve. He is a holy unit, and he does such stupid amounts of damage. It is ridiculous. The only reason I haven't evolved mine is because I'm waiting to try and get a serialized one. That is going to be an upcoming video. When they do the shiny day, I'm going to be doing a summon for it, but Dio has a time stop that he can cycle And Dio also has a thing where he could choose any effect in the game to give himself, which is also really broken. Dio's weakness that he has is his range is genuinely terrible. And on top of that, his AoE is also pretty mediocre, but other than that, his damage is so stupid. His support is so stupid. This guy is just an all-around broken unit. And out of anyone in this update, you guys need to get Dio. There is no way around that. And there you go. You have my rankings for all the units in this update. I know that was a lot to get through, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you stuck around the whole video, I really do appreciate it. Just remember I'm doing a face reveal at 10,000 subscribers, and I'd appreciate it if you guys subscribe. But with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. See you guys later.